So another day, another just weird situation, with Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever and people around the organization. We obviously have seen the Scott Agnes article here, where he basically said that Caitlin Clark, that Caitlin Clark brings a dark side to the Fever, and her fans are like a negative on the team, and it's a struggle dealing with her fans. I'm like,
are the Indiana Fever actually thinking about trading Caitlin Clark? The internet is buzzing, and the whole situation feels stranger than a halftime mascot showdown. Did she score too much? Smile too often? Sell too many jerseys? Something about this situation feels off, and it's definitely not the pregame food. Stay tuned as we break down the drama, connect the clues, and possibly expose what could go down as one of the worst front office decisions ever made. Grab your popcorn, because this story is heating up faster than a Caitlin Clark Logo 3.
Another good win by the Indiana Fever today versus the Seattle Storm, but I got a big concern with Caitlin Clark, man. So looks like the Fever been figuring things out, man. So let's just say Clark comes back toward the end of the season. Fever do their thing in the playoff. Let's just say, for the sake of my argument, the Fever win the championship, man. With Caitlin Clark having missed pretty much most of the regular season, would this championship not hold that much weight? Because I can already see the haters saying she missed most of the regular.
Let's be honest. If the Indiana Fever ever decided to trade Caitlin Clark, they might as well hand out "we quit" signs with every ticket stub. You think Indiana traffic is bad now? Imagine the rush of fans running to support whichever team lands number 22. We're talking about the most marketable, most discussed, and most searched player in women's basketball, and they'd trade her for what? A pile of worn-out warm-up towels and a future second-round pick? Come on.
He literally said, and he was like, there are some people that are not here for basketball, not here for the Fever, but are only here for Caitlin Clark. It's like, if you're a fan of a player and you're here for the basketball and you're there watching games and everything, you're a fan of a player playing basketball. I don't see there's an issue with that. And according to his thing, to him, he was talking about how it was such a struggle for the team, and obviously he's someone who has access to the team. And he mentioned that, the fans coming on saying fire stuff.
The Indiana Fever Arena would go from completely packed to sounding like an empty gym faster than you can say, worst trade in sports history. Right now, Caitlin Clark is the show. She's not just filling arenas, she's bringing life to entire cities. Every time she hits the court, concession stands get cleaned out, merchandise booths look like the aftermath of Black Friday, and suddenly everyone's grandma is rocking a number 22 jersey. And we're supposed to believe they'd throw all of that away like an old box score?
The reason why I was a little disappointed in Sophie's take is that, she's right. It's just that she did say, and I thought this was a better explanation, she was saying that when she played in Phoenix, that she was in the locker room, and so many of the players in the locker room were saying things like, oh, we're going to show Caitlin Clark what the W is really about, and would sort of go after her. And in some ways you can understand that because she was a rookie in the league. But ultimately, when you see all this vitriol of people who cannot stand her, it's like, okay, well, what has she done wrong? Yeah, she's a great basketball player, so
the math just isn't adding up. You don't trade the one player who transformed your franchise from background noise into must-watch television. Before Caitlin Clark arrived, most WNBA fans probably couldn't even recognize the Indiana Fever logo in a lineup. Now they're the center of attention, front and center, constantly trending, and dominating headlines like the Beyoncé of the league. That's not just great coaching. That's the Caitlin Clark effect.
Is a badass and a trash talker and gives it as good as she gets it. And she is an object of scorn for good reason. She's awesome. She's swaggery. She does turn your home crowd into a road crowd. She is a frustrating player to guard all of it. And if she is, for some of these teams, a bit of a villain, that's sweet. It only will make her better. She is already one of the 3 or 4 best players in the sport, as a lot of us thought she would be in short order.
If the Indiana Fever ever decided to trade Caitlin Clark, they wouldn't just be losing a player. They'd be losing relevance itself. Clark isn't just another athlete on the roster. She's a full-blown media engine. Every game she plays gets amplified everywhere: sports networks, podcasts, highlight reels, TikTok clips. Even people who barely watch basketball end up seeing her shots over and over again. If she were traded, that spotlight wouldn't follow the team anymore. It would disappear instantly. Meanwhile, whichever franchise landed her would explode in popularity overnight. It wouldn't matter if it's a big city or a small market team. Suddenly, that organization becomes the center of attention, with jerseys flying off shelves and fans showing up everywhere. That team would go from anonymity to must-watch status almost instantly. On the other hand, Indiana would be left trying to rebuild in silence, hoping people still show up for the basketball itself. The idea that the massive surge in attention is just about strategy or team performance misses the point. The attention is tied to one person. It's less like a normal roster move and more like losing the main attraction entirely.
Indiana Fever posted this about Caitlin Clark to give the official what is going on with Caitlin's injury. So they said Caitlin Clark underwent further medical evaluations earlier this week, which confirmed that no additional injuries or damage was discovered. Clark will continue working with the medical team on her recovery and rehabilitation with the priority on her long-term health and well-being. There is no timetable available for her return. But I do think it's interesting that ESPN has listed August 12th as a possible return date for Caitlin Clark. But the internet noticed something specific that Holly Rowe had to say on the broadcast. Holly Rowe said that before the last return after a quad injury, she had no...
This isn't a typical fan base. It's closer to a full-scale movement. People aren't just watching the games. They're traveling to arenas, posting constantly online, and turning Indiana Fever games into some of the most watched content on streaming platforms. The idea that fans would just stay loyal to the team's next era if Caitlin Clark were traded ignores reality. Most of them wouldn't. They'd follow her wherever she goes, the same way highly dedicated fan communities follow their star, just with basketball highlights instead of music tours. There's also this belief that the team would remain just as competitive and the fan base would simply move on. But unless you're replacing a player like Clark with someone capable of doing everything at once, scoring, facilitating, drawing crowds, and carrying the league's attention, you're not realistically filling that gap. The drop-off would be massive. From a financial standpoint, moving her wouldn't just be a questionable basketball decision, it would be a major business risk. The comparison is basically like removing the central figure driving attention and expecting everything to function the same afterward.
You know, she didn't play most of the games to get them to the playoffs, all of that. She won a championship and she was hurt most of the season, and the team was out there winning games without her. I can already see people saying that, man. So I'm just curious, man, because I'm thinking damn, Clark has missed a lot of this time. You play the regular season and get to the playoffs. Clark has missed, most of the season so far. So if she won a title this year, having been injured most of this season, and then her first championship would be her being hurt most of the time, how would that championship rank for y'all? Would it not hold that much weight? Would it just be, a win is a win, whatever?
And don't even try the maybe it's best for both sides argument. Best for who exactly? The accountants doing damage control? The merch staff suddenly forced to push generic team effort shirts because nothing else is moving? Or the PR in turn stuck rewriting posts at 2 a.m. trying to explain why a once-packed arena now has empty seats echoing through it? This wouldn't be addition by subtraction. It would be subtraction dressed up as strategy. Trading Caitlin Clark from the Indiana Fever wouldn't be a clever roster move. It would be a textbook case of destroying your own momentum and calling it innovation. Trading Caitlin Clark from the Indiana Fever wouldn't just hurt the team, it would collapse everything she helped build. She's the main reason the franchise went from empty seats to packed arenas, from low attention to constant national headlines, and from quiet broadcasts to must-watch TV. Remove her, and you don't just lose a star, you lose the entire momentum, audience, and relevance she brought with her.